Okay, this is your reaction rates pre-lab. This is what you really need to do before you can actually do the lab. So you'll be doing a lab that carries out 3 experiments that test at least, and I know this says test 3 factors, so you can do 2. So 2 experiments that test 2 factors. If you want to get extra credit, you can do 3 that affect the reaction rate. You can choose between temperature, surface area, and number of particles. You can just choose 2 out of those 3. Okay, so you're going to use this information below to write a procedure for the lab that you'll do on the block day. You'll need to have your procedure checked off before you can start the lab. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take a moment and do the warm-up where there are 5 factors that you can change the rate of reaction. So take a moment, pause the video, and go ahead and add those in. Okay, so hopefully, you paused it, and there are 5 factors that can change the rate of reaction. We're going to go over those. What are they? They are temperature, they are surface area, volume, concentration, and note that concentration is just a fancy way of stating the number of particles, and then the last one is adding a catalyst. Okay, so when we do an experiment, we have to pick at least one variable to test at a time. Sorry, not at least, but only one. Only one. You can only do one variable at a time. A lot of students want to do all of these at a time, but that you want to make sure you just pick one at a time. If you want to test more than one variable, you just go ahead and you do multiple experiments. This is called the independent variable. Once we choose an independent variable, we must hold all others constant. These are called lab controls. So let's say for the first one, we wanted to test a variable and we want to test, we want to test a variable, and the first one you want to test is temperature. I'm going to do the first one for you, and then you're going to do the other one by yourself. So if I'm testing temperature, that means I have to hold everything else constant. So everything else that I'm holding constant, what else am I going to hold constant? Well, I'm also going to hold, they're going to have the same surface area. So that means that my Alka-Seltzer tablets I'm testing are going to all look the same. They're all either going to be in tablet form, or they're all going to be in powder form, or they're just going to be the same. The other thing I need to hold constant is the volume of H2O that I'm dissolving it in. So I could choose, let's have everyone do, you can choose the volume that you're going to do is 200 milliliters. Now, what else is going to be held constant? I'm also going to have the same, what else? I'm going to have the same amount of Alka-Seltzer tablet. So you don't want to do like half a tablet and a full tablet. And what else are we going to do? I think that could be all of the things we're going to hold constant. If you can think of more, you can go ahead and add them in. So that's for part A. So for part B, the second trial, you're going to choose the second independent variable. So for you guys, that might be temperature, it might be surface area, and the next one, the third one, that you're going to do might be something like, this one could be, the volume. Okay, I don't know, or the number of particles. Whatever you want to do, it's your decision. You choose that and you fill out the rest of it. Okay, so we're going to go to the next page. Okay, so the next page, you also want to add lab controls, for the other one. I'm having a hard time right now. Okay, so here's the lab write-up instructions. This is your background info. Alka-Seltzer tablets contain 2 main ingredients, sodium bicarbonate and citric acid. When you place an Alka-Seltzer tablet in water, a chemical reaction takes place, and this right here is your chemical reaction. So the purpose of this is to speed up this reaction. You want to go ahead and kind of find a way to increase the reaction rate. So based on this, you need to create an appropriate title. You need to create an appropriate question for problem 1 and problem 2. So I also kind of wrote it for you. How does blank affect the reaction rate? And you're going to insert usually this is your independent variable, and then affect something, this is going to be your dependent variable. Okay, that's part 1, question part 1, part 2, and part 3. Now, for here, you need to list materials, and I'm going to go ahead and just tell you that you're going to have some Alka-Seltzer tablets. And then what you need to do is you need to think through everything else you will need. So will you need a hot plate? Will you need a thermometer? Will you need water? Will you need a beaker? This needs to be everything that I'm going to give you. So if it's not on this list, you don't get to use it. Okay, and the procedure. This is important. It says that we're gonna write this as a class, but I think that we can do the rest of them for actually I can just go ahead. The first thing you're gonna want to do, right, is you're going to want to obtain your Alka-Seltzer tablet. So the first thing is, gather all materials. And if we're doing this for the temperature, then we have thought ahead of time, maybe I want to do one at 20 degrees Celsius, maybe I want to do one at 50 degrees Celsius, and maybe I want to do one at 90 degrees Celsius. Those are maybe the levels. Maybe you don't want to do those, maybe you want to do different levels, that's fine, but it will help you think through what you're going to do. So this is only for part 1, and then you're going to do part 2 and part 3. So gather all materials. And then let me think. Well, I'm keeping everything else constant, so I'm going to obtain 200 milliliters of water in a beaker. And notice how it just says water, so I'm going to want to go ahead and say this is going to be my 20 degrees Celsius water. Maybe it's not 20 degrees Celsius, maybe it's 25. Well, then change it to whatever temperature you start with. The next thing I would do is what would I do? I would add my Alka-Seltzer tablet to the water. And then how would I do that? I would start the timer. And then after I start the timer, what would I do? I would go ahead and observe. Whoa, that was terrible. Observe the reaction until it's over. So until all fizzing stops. And then you want to stop the timer, and you want to record. Record time. Okay? And then you might want to repeat steps 1 through, 2 through 6 for your other one. So maybe it's 50 degrees Celsius, 90 degrees Celsius water. And then note, you're going to have to also heat up the water, so you're going to have to think about that. And that's for an example procedure. You can make it a lot more detailed and a lot better than I just did, but that's what you're going to do for each part. So in order to get started, you're going to have to do that for part 1 and part 2. Now, here's an example of your data tables. So this is going to be, and I guess you're going to be doing 3 trials for each reaction. So what that means is you're going to be doing everything 3 times. So you should have part 1, this will be, for example, trial 1, trial 2, trial 3. And so your first trial is going to be at 25 degrees Celsius. Maybe your second trial, I think we said 50. And then we said that this one is going to be 90. But you need to do at least 3 different things for all of your reactions. Okay, and here's an example of data tables for surface area. And so also this one, part 2 said surface area. Another thing you can do is you can change it. This is agitation, which is like stirring. So you could also do stirring, you could do concentration, you could do temperature. But right now you and your partner need to go ahead and plan out your experiment, write your procedure. So I'll write this down. Your homework is to finish your procedure. And it has to be detailed, and you also have to have your planned out data tables and your problem statement. Okay, so that's what we're going to do in the block day. Go ahead and plan that out, and then we will get started as soon as your procedures are ready. Good luck.